The wind tore across the desolate prairie, a haunting wail that seemed to carry the weight of every unspoken grief beneath the endless sky. Dust and snow twisted together in vicious, biting spirals, slashing at exposed skin like shards of ice. In that fragile dusk, where the horizon blazed with a fleeting golden glow before fading into a deep, mournful violet, a woman staggered forward. Her boots sank into the frozen earth, each step a battle against the cold that gnawed at her soul. Mabel Whitaker clutched her threadbare shawl tighter around her trembling shoulders, but it offered little defense against the chill that seeped into her bones, a relentless reminder of her desperation. Her breath came in ragged, shallow gasps, clouding the air with mist, while her dark braid unraveled, strands of black hair whipping wildly across her tear-streaked face, freezing into crystalline trails on her cheeks. Each movement felt like a plea for survival, and the fear that stopping would mean her end gripped her heart with icy fingers. Behind her lay Dry Creek, the town she once called home, a place now lost to her, its safety shattered. The sheriff's accusing words echoed in her mind, and the townsfolk's cold, judgmental stares burned into her memory, as if she bore a plague they feared to catch. She had tried to defend herself, her voice breaking as she begged them to listen, to understand that she had only helped her younger brother escape conscription. But their ears were deaf to her truth, their hearts hardened by rumors of her aiding outlaws, of smuggling supplies under the cover of night. It wasn't true, yet their belief in her guilt crushed her spirit. Ahead, a shadowy form emerged from the swirling snow. A weathered cabin, its sagging frame bowing under the burden of time and tempests. A faint wisp of smoke curled from the chimney, and a single lantern flickered weakly in the window, a fragile beacon in the storm. Mabel's instincts screamed at her to flee, to vanish into the wilderness and trust no one, but her exhausted body betrayed her. Her legs buckled, and she collapsed into the snow with a choked sob, the cold seeping deeper into her weary frame. She didn't hear the door creak open, nor the crunch of boots on snow until they halted just feet away. "Get up," a voice commanded, rough and clipped, carrying the edge of a man who spoke only when necessary. Mabel's head snapped up, her heart pounding with a mix of terror and hope. A tall figure loomed above her, silhouetted by the dim light spilling from the cabin. Broad-shouldered and clad in a worn coat, his dark hair streaked with gray at the temples framed a rugged, handsome face weathered by hardship. His pale eyes, sharp and unyielding, studied her like a hawk assessing its prey, one hand resting near the revolver at his hip. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracking with raw desperation, "don't shoot." He remained silent, his gaze unwavering. "If you let me live," she continued, her words spilling out in a frantic rush, "I'll bear you children, strong ones. I'll marry you. I'll do anything you ask." Her plea hung in the air, born of fear and a desperate will to survive. Something flickered in his eyes, curiosity, perhaps, or a fleeting surprise, but his expression remained stoic. "You got a name?" he asked, his tone flat. "Mabel Whitaker," she replied, clutching her shawl tighter. "You're from Dry Creek." It wasn't a question, and she nodded, her voice trembling. "They said I helped outlaws, but I didn't. I swear it." He studied her for a long, tense moment before letting out a weary sigh. "On your feet. You'll freeze out here." Mabel struggled to rise, her body swaying as exhaustion threatened to pull her under. With a muttered curse, he stepped forward, his strong hand gripping her arm, not cruelly, but with a firmness that steadied her. Half carrying, half dragging her, he guided her into the cabin, kicking the door shut against the storm. The sudden warmth enveloped her like a lifeline, and she sagged against the wall, her limbs tingling painfully as feeling returned, tears of relief mingling with the ache. "Sit," he ordered, and she sank into a wooden chair near the fire, her trembling fingers stretching toward the flames. He moved silently, hanging his coat on a peg and pouring water into a kettle. "You don't look like no outlaw," he said at last, his voice low. "I'm not," she whispered, a fragile hope threading through her words. He shot her a glance, his tone carrying the weight of a man who had seen too much to trust easily. "And yet here you are, begging for your life in a stranger's yard." "What did you do?" "Nothing," she insisted, her voice breaking. "The sheriff lied about me. He wants my family's land. My mother's sick. I couldn't fight him." His jaw tightened, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Sound about right." "You believe me?" she asked, her heart clinging to his response. "I believe folks will say anything if it suits them," he replied, his voice devoid of judgment, but heavy with cynicism. "Doesn't mean you're innocent." Her flinch was involuntary, but his tone lacked malice. Only the exhaustion of a man worn by the world. He set a chipped mug before her. "Drink." The tea was weak and bitter, but its warmth spread through her, a small comfort against the storm within. "What's your name?" she asked hesitantly. "Cullen Ree," he answered, and her eyes widened in shock. The name whispered in Dry Creek tales. The gunman who once rode with a notorious gang, vanished into the hills, some saying he was dead, others too wary to hunt him. "You're him," she murmured, and his lips curved into a humorless smile. "Guilty. Why help me then?" she pressed, her voice trembling with uncertainty. "Didn't say I was helping," he retorted. "Just didn't fancy stepping over a frozen corpse on my way to the woodpile." Mabel twisted her hands in her lap, her voice barely audible. "You could still throw me out." He watched her, his gaze unreadable, then added, "I could, but I won't. Not tonight." Silence settled between them, broken only by the fire's soft hiss and the wind's relentless howl rattling the window panes. "You meant what you said out there?" Cullen asked suddenly, his voice cutting through the quiet. Her head jerked up. "What? That you'd marry me? Bear me children?" She swallowed hard, her heart racing. I didn't mean it as a lie. I thought it might spare me. But if I said yes," she met his gaze, her voice steadying with resolve, "then I'd keep my word." For the first time, his expression softened, a crack in his hardened exterior. "You're a strange one, Mabel Whitaker." His laugh was rough, brief. "Don't go getting ideas about me. I'm no good man. I've known plenty of men who call themselves good," she replied quietly, her voice laced with the wisdom of her trials. "Didn't mean they were." Cullen stared at her, something unreadable flickering in his pale eyes. Then he stood, pulling his coat back on. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow, we'll see if you're still so eager to keep your word." He stepped outside into the storm, leaving her alone. Mabel sat by the fire, her heart pounding with a fragile thread of hope she hadn't felt since fleeing Dry Creek. She whispered to herself, "Don't let me die out here," her voice a prayer against the wind scream. Inside, the fire burned steady and warm, and for one night, she clung to the safety it offered, her spirit trembling on the edge of redemption.